All right, one other comment I wanted to make on uh, doing static methods and variables is one of the other uses for them is if you have code that is the same, but it's in two separate classes, you can like make that method in like a separate file. So what I mean by that is like back when we were doing binary search and linear search, I had an array that kind of just displayed all the ints in the array. So it had a loop look like this, but I had it in both linear search and binary search. Okay, so they both have the exact same code. As I flip back and forth, the code exactly the same. Actually, same thing with the populate array was exactly the same too. But anyways, I'm just going to focus on display array. Okay, and the idea is this really isn't linked to linear search at all, right? It just takes in an array of ints and just displays them, and it's not associated with any specific object. It's just a method that displays an array of ints. Okay, so we could put that in a class and to keep it as a static method, and then we could use it in both binary search and linear search. All we'd have to do is change how it's called. Right, so I have the single method, it's in both of them, and right now when I call it in binary search, right, I just use its name. It's called display array and pass in the ints, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this method, I'm actually just going to copy it, or cut it, I guess. I'm actually going to cut it out, right? And then I'm going to make a new file called like search helper, or whatever, you can name it really whatever you want, but I'm going to call it search helper. Sometimes I call it helper because it has like helper methods. Okay, so I'm going to go in there and it's blank. It doesn't have main or anything. It is in the same package, so it knows about linear search and binary search. But I'm going to put the display array method in there, and because it's static, I can use it without ever making an instance of this class. Okay, this method it's public and it's static, so I can use it without making an instance by just doing the name of the class dot method. Okay, so I'm going to go back to binary search and I'm going to call it by doing search helper dot method name. So display array, and then pass in whatever array I want to display. So that's how I'm going to call this. Okay, so I'm going to go back to binary search and I cut out the method. So now it's giving me an error saying it doesn't have this binary search doesn't have a display array method. And that's fine, it's just now in search helper. So I'm going to call it, like I said, I'm just going to put search helper dot, and then I'm going to call that array from there. Alright, and I'm not sure why it's complaining at this point. Search helper, did I spell it wrong? Yep, I did. Search helper. If I could actually learn how to spell, that would make this a lot easier. Okay, so there, I finally spelled it right, but, so now, well, geez, what is it complaining about now? Display array. So did I not name it display array? Oh, I just didn't save it, maybe. Save it. Okay, it's finally not complaining. So, now I can use that display array method in here, and then I also don't need it in linear search, right? So, I can reuse the code that I've already done in search helper. So that's the same code that's in search helper. I'm going to cut it out, and then anytime I need my display array, I'm just going to call the class name dot method name. And again, because it's static, I don't have to make an instance. I don't have to go search helper equals new search helper. I don't have to do that. That's how you do it for non-static methods in data, right? You don't have to make an instance first, right? You don't have to do that instance line. You can just call the class name dot method name, right? And that's what it means to be static. And that is kind of useful. Like, basically, if you have any methods that are shared, you can pull them into a separate class, and then you don't have to worry about, like, if I needed to modify this method for some reason, like maybe I want to put a tab here instead of a comma, I could change it in only one spot instead of having to change the method in two separate spots, right? Which gets annoying, especially if you have it like 5 spots and you got to change the code 5 times. If you put it in one common spot, then anytime you want to make a change, maybe I want to make this /t, right? I want to make it be a tab. I can just change it in one spot, and then when I run my linear search, it'll have, oops, I must have did this last T the wrong way. Let's try the other way. Then it puts the tabs right in there. It makes it nice and pretty for me. Okay, so I could probably do the same thing with this other method, this populate array, because both of these have a populate array method that's exactly the same. Okay, so I'm not going to do it just to save time, but in theory, I should basically do that same thing and put that in search helper, right? Because it's common code, so I can put it there and then call it using the class name. Okay, that is it. Just another example of where you can use a static, that's a static method, right? And pull it into its own class. Alright, hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, let me know. Thanks for watching.